I still can't believe what I just read. I really can't believe what I just read, guys. If you don't understand, go check out my live reaction and you will see exactly how I reacted to everything. But if you don't want to do that, you can stay here and watch this discussion, all right? Because we're going to be discussing the chapter. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a review or anything. I just want to discuss everything that happened. Normally I'd wait till tomorrow because it's so late. It's freaking 3 in the morning, but I'm like, yo, whatever. We're going to get this discussion done. We're going to get it out because we may have the greatest chapter of Whole Cake Island. Let me start this off by saying that Oda has been I don't know, he's been criticized. He's definitely been criticized this whole arc because of how shit's been playing out, the execution, and the pacing of some things. But this chapter, my guy, this chapter, fantastic. Now, first off the cover page, and Froob had an interesting point about this, was that the Grand Fleet. We're going to have different arcs with different members of the Grand Fleet. And this cover page kind of confirms that the Tontada, they're going to be pretty much at the Reverie, so they're gonna have a part in whatever goes on there. If Luffy gets brought up, if they say that they're part of Luffy's Grand Fleet, whatever happens, they're gonna be there to witness everything. And I think that's gonna be the formula going forward, that pretty much everyone that's part of the fleet, they're gonna have their moments in different arcs. I don't think it's ever gonna be all of them together, but it's gonna be, you know, maybe, you know, Blue Gilly and those guys, maybe Bellamy comes back and joins the crew. You don't know as far as the fleet, but they're gonna be implemented, you know, here and there. Fuck all that though, to the chapter. You know, when we see Rayleigh, right? When we see Rayleigh, you know shit's about to pop off. You know it's about to be an amazing chapter. In this chapter, we saw Rayleigh again. The interesting thing here was that it kind of confirmed that Haki, it has different forms, right? It has different forms, and Luffy, he's not proficient in the form we thought he was. Well, not me per se, other niggas. So we saw Rayleigh kind of using food to taunt Luffy and to kind of force Luffy to train and get better. And of course, it's not going over well with typical Luffy fashion. And Rayleigh, I think this shows us more of Rayleigh's character and him being a trainer, because when we got more into observation Haki, the conversation kind of got really interesting. So with the color of observation, it seems that it's multiple types that we confirmed or we talked about before. I made a video about this, even talking about this exact thing, where I felt like Luffy isn't actually seeing the future. Luffy is sensing everything, because that's who Luffy is. He's an instinctive guy. That's what he, and Rayleigh pretty much confirms this, that Luffy's not proficient in, you know, in that type as far as seeing the future and shit like that. That's not his thing. He's more proficient in sensing the feelings of living things. That's what Rayleigh says. That goes back to the voice of all things. And could this be a variant of that in addition to observation Haki with Luffy? Because it's a bunch of times, right? With Luffy, he can just tell how someone is feeling. Luffy, even this arc versus Sanji, he says, I can tell how you feel through your hits. So Luffy, his observation Haki game is definitely growing and stepping up. And the next shit that happens, we can kind of see that it's growing, right? But I thought the dialogue between Luffy and Rayleigh was amazing, because Rayleigh basically goes into, you know, Luffy, and what if you run into somebody that can actually see the future? Because he tells Luffy, you know, you have people out there that they can predict, but they can predict into the future. They can see a little bit into the future. Of course, this is talking about someone like Katakuri, because hey, he's fighting Katakuri right now. So yo, what would you do? Because you would struggle a lot. And Luffy even says, like, it depends on the type of person they are. And Rayleigh, he's like, you know what, that's not an aspect that I even thought of. And that shows Rayleigh's personality as well, that Rayleigh doesn't give a fuck about who you are, all right? Rayleigh just like, yo, if I have a job, I'm gonna take care of it. Fuck you. We all know Luffy to be a different guy, and this just confirms, like, Luffy thinks differently. He views things differently. He's kind of, it's innocent, but it's to the point. Rayleigh also says that he doesn't think Luffy will be able to make up that gap as far as, like, seeing into the future based on, like, how he does things. So Luffy, and having the voice of all things and having a variant of that, I think that's definitely going to help with his development. That's what's working here right now versus Katakuri, because this dude is blooming and he's growing, all right? Again, I just have to point out how awesome Rayleigh is and how great he has been for Luffy, and just being a trainer and a mentor to Luffy was the perfect thing for the story. And just kudos to Rayleigh and everything he's done for the Straw Hats and for Luffy, because without him, they would not be where they are right now, especially Luffy. Next panel, we have Luffy dodging Katakuri and his Gatling Mochi Donuts, whatever it is, and Luffy just casually going through it. So Luffy's Haki is getting better and better every minute that goes by, and we see it. We're actually seeing it come to fruition. We're actually seeing it come to fruition now, and it's amazing to see, because Luffy's blooming, bro. I can't say that enough, because it's happening right before our very eyes. Girl, this Katakuri is like, yo, fuck all that. Like, you're not just about to dodge all my shit. And he just goes through it, and he's blitzing Luffy again, and the Mochi Donuts is fucking him up, and it's actually hurting Luffy and his base Haki again. He hasn't used Gear Third or any other Haki, but it's fucking up his regular base Haki. And Katakuri, this just shows how much stronger Katakuri is than Luffy. And we've seen it time and time again in this fight, that Katakuri is stronger. He's a lot stronger than Luffy, but Luffy is growing at a crazy rate, and he's about to counter Katakuri based on like the shit that he's learning, and also the fact that he's like the fucking main character. He's fucking Luffy, all right? He's Luffy, and that's just kind of what it is right now. A dope part of this chapter was my boy Katakuri pulling out the grilled mochi, all right? And I think this is his variant of Red Hawk, where he can heat up his mochi to the point where he can fire off his arm like a rocket launcher. And what's crazy is that his arm grows right back. I know he had the properties of a Logia. He is indeed a special paramecia, and it's crazy how he does things, from his donuts to his grilled mochi attack. Like, Katakuri is fantastic. Like, he has a bunch of different things that he can do to overwhelm you, in addition to his future sight. Like, this dude is a prodigy of prodigies. I mean, of course, no one compares to Luffy, but based on what we've seen from Katakuri, the most complete fighter next to Doflamingo that we've seen in the series so far. He has everything to his arsenal: conqueror's armament, observation, devil fruit mastery. I mean, it's all there for Katakuri. So Luffy overcoming someone like Katakuri is going to make him an even more complete fighter because of how much he had to do to overcome this guy. For some reason, also, Luffy is able to hit Katakuri now. So I'm not sure if that's because his Haki is blooming, so now he can predict what Katakuri is going to see so that he can counter it, because it's still not making sense to me where Luffy is able to hit Katakuri now. It doesn't make sense that much, but how I rationalize it, how it can make sense, is that Luffy's Haki is blooming, so now Katakuri's future sight isn't necessarily working on him as much because he's sensing what Katakuri is going to do. He's sensing where Katakuri is going to be, so it doesn't matter if Katakuri can see it. Luffy's going to sense what he's going to do, where he's going to be, so it's kind of canceling each other out, so it comes down to who's faster and more stronger and more powerful, right? The more chill parts of the chapter had like the Capone and oven stuff, but let's focus on the Capone stuff here. They confirmed why Prometheus is moving sluggishly, and that's because Prometheus and his size right now, he cannot function the way he normally does, and this is attributed to Big Mom and her not being in the right state of mind. So he's directly feeding off Big Mom's soul. So that's an embodiment of Big Mom's soul. So Big Mom, she's not in the right mind. She can't tell Prometheus where to go, what to do. So Prometheus is just like going along for the ride, and that's affecting the actual travel. The plan was initially Liquor Island, but now Chiffon is saying we should go to Puff's Island because, you know, she doesn't want Mama to have enough time to go back and kill Nami and them. But they're like, yo, you tripping, bro? We've done enough. We've done all we can. Chiffon like, yo, we have to go to Puff's Island. So that's being dragged out a bit, but I really don't care that much about what's going on there. I'm like, yo, just keep happening and let the Luffy Katakuri shit go down. We also see where Brûlée gets all her fine attributes from, and it's from like a skinny ass Big Mom. Big Mom is so hungry right now. She's looking literally like Brûlée. It's like she's starving. So Big Mom being at a fraction of her strength makes sense right now. So I'm really interested to see what the cake is going to do. But honestly, that wasn't the focus of this chapter. But that's, you know, that's happened. So I had to at least mention it. We cut to the ship as well with Nami and Jinbei and those guys. And of course, Smoothie is a giant now, so I'm not sure if she's absorbing the ocean like a troll that she said in one of the streams before, but it seems that way, that she's absorbing some shit, and she sent like a huge slash towards the ship that they dodged. But Smoothie right now and all those guys, they're attacking the ship. I'm not sure what's going on with Smoothie. Now she's just big as fuck. Yo, Smoothie, you're dumb, now you're big. You're big and dumb as fuck. So I'm just so tired of Smoothie right now. Until she does something, I really don't care. And then they even tell her like, yo, why are you getting so big? That's gonna sink the ship. So this ties more even into like Smoothie being a dumbass, right? So I'm like, right now Smoothie's like labeled dumbass. That's what she's labeled, because I can't figure it out. I really can't. What's also funny is that Sanji's no longer on the ship. Sanji and Pudding took off on Rabian to go save Luffy. Sanji's like, I'll definitely save my captain, on some like Zoro shit. But regardless, Sanji's heading towards Luffy because Luffy's gonna be surrounded, and that, you know, segues perfectly into what happened next. We have some pretty big names waiting for Luffy in that mirror world. They're just waiting for him to pop out, or waiting for him to get out of the mirror world so they can ambush him. And like, some of the names revolve around like Oven, and we saw a lot of new characters that we haven't seen before. We saw like Raisin, Jaconde, Brownie, but the most like known and like person that we all really focused on was Snack. We got a reveal of Commander Snack here, and he's still thinking about the worst generation. Uruge's fist is still up his ass, and he's still like, yo, who fucked me? What fucked me? Because he doesn't know what's going on, and his silhouette is kind of trash. The One Piece anime gave a good description or a good portrayal of what Snack looked like. Was like a big motherfucker, and it looks that way here. I mean, it's kind of confusing and hard to make out. I think that was on purpose so that we got Snack, and we got his bounty 600 million berry. Pretty high, but not high enough to the point where we're like, oh shit. So he's lower than Cracker, lower than Smoothie, lower than Katakuri. So Snack is confirmed the weakest Sweet Commander. So Uruge beating Snack, we cannot automatically put Uruge over Luffy and those guys anymore, because based on bounty, of course bounty isn't everything, but based on bounty, he's the weakest of all the Sweet Commanders. So hey, fuck all that though. Back to the Katakuri and Luffy shit. Katakuri at this point, it seems like he's training Luffy. I've been saying that for a while, but it's kind of more noticeable now. With Katakuri, he's respecting Luffy so much to the point that he's kind of inspiring Luffy. Like, Luffy fell down and was like, yo, endure it. Get up, bro, get up. So I'm not sure if he just wants a respectful fight, a respectable matchup with like a manly man. But regardless, I'm like, yo, Katakuri, you've changed, and I appreciate the development, but you've gone way too far. You gotta bring it back in. Bring it back in a little bit. This, I feel, is interesting because this goes back to Katakuri and how much he's grown from the first time he saw him, telling Luffy to stay down, stop getting up, to Luffy endure it and get back up. So Katakuri's mindset is completely changed, and he's a completely different character from the one that we were introduced to, which is kind of cool, but it kind of takes away from the fight. Well, not really, because the fight is still amazing. I'm still waiting to see what's going to happen. But it's kind of like, all right, Katakuri, do you want Luffy to win here? Even the dialogue at the end where Luffy says, with this, if you, and the Katakuri's like, I've already answered it. We talked about this on stream, and shout out to Toile. He said that basically Luffy's asking him, yo, do you mind if I go Gear 4th? And he's like, you know what, it's a manly man's, it's a manly fight, so, you know, go for it. I already answered it by not doing anything. So that made a lot of sense to me, because before I was like, okay, is Katakuri giving up? Does he say like, okay, I'm gonna lose, whatever, just do your thing? Based on this, I feel like everything that's happened in this chapter with Katakuri and Luffy, it was great. It was great. We're seeing progression as far as the story is concerned. A bit draggy. It's a bit draggy, but regardless, we're going places here. And Luffy, I didn't even mention, I forgot to mention a new form. Gear 4th SNAKEMAN, whatever the fuck that is, more than likely is going to be focused on speed and dodging and shit like that, being harder to hit, and that's the perfect form for Katakuri, because Katakuri, he's slippery, he can see the future, it's a lot of shit. So you being able to do the same thing, not necessarily see the future, but to be able to sense a bit faster, that's what you need right now. So Luffy, SNAKEMAN, Gear 4th SNAKEMAN, let's remember, like, every time Luffy has a new form, we go crazy, right? So this is, I expect the community to go crazy. It's still pretty early. It's really early. Everyone isn't up yet. So when everyone wakes up, it's going to be it's going to be crazy, because everyone will be like, holy shit, a new form. I'm already seeing people spoiling like Luffy's getting a new form and shit like that. And more than likely for this video, I'm probably going to put the same thing, because fuck, hey, shit, everybody already saying it. You probably got spoiled by somebody else. You don't worry about my shit, all right? This new form, I think, is cool. I know a lot of people were saying that, well, not a lot of people. People were saying that, why didn't Luffy use this before? I think we must wait a little bit before we can come to that determination, that assumption. We don't know the conditions for this. We don't know what Luffy had to achieve. We don't know if it's like his observation Haki wasn't good enough yet. We don't know if he had to wait for Katakuri to come down to a certain level for him to be able to get in a certain amount of hits. We have to just wait and see why Luffy couldn't use SNAKEMAN before, and then we can kind of come to our conclusions. But regardless, so much development for this chapter. I don't want to get much deeper than that. Like, those are my initial thoughts on it and how I feel about it. I think it was an amazing chapter. A lot of great shit happened. Luffy versus Katakuri. Oda has been consistent in showing us that fight. Even when he skipped away to different things, he showed us what was going on with Luffy and Katakuri, which is fantastic. Oda, I love that shit. I love when you do that shit. I love when you remain consistent. So Oda, shout out to this fucking chapter. I think so far the best chapter of Whole Cake, because of everything that happened. Of course, Luffy get a new form. SNAKEMAN. We all figured that Luffy would have a new form, but we weren't sure when we were going to see it, and we thought it was Tank Man, but we got Brown Man, Tank Man, now we getting SNAKEMAN this whole arc. Whole Cake Island, I expect a great finish to it. It's still dragging a bit, but so far, the last 2 chapters, fucking amazing, fucking epic. Probably 2 top 5 chapters the last 2 weeks. And again, no fucking break. Let me know what you think. How did you feel about this chapter? Give me your best thing, your one big thing from this chapter. Shout out to all my patrons. I appreciate all you guys a lot. If you guys want to become a patron, you can look in the description box down below, and you can pledge to the channel, and you get different rewards and shit like that, and it helps the channel out a lot. I can't stress that enough. That's the reason why I can get new shit, blah 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 blah. If you're here for the first time, like the video, subscribe if you have not, and I appreciate you guys coming through. Check out the live reaction, check out all my videos. They're always lit, and I'll catch y'all niggas later. I'll catch y'all guys later. Peace.